Hello, my name is Matt, and today I wanted to share a little devotional with you that caught my eye, and it was we see in Mark chapter 4, it says that the kingdom of God is like a mustard seed, which is the smallest of all seeds on earth. Yet when planted, it grows and becomes the largest of all garden plants with such big branches that the birds can perch in its shade. This particular passage, Jesus is speaking about the kingdom of God, and it really struck a chord with me in terms of our giftings, and I think many of us struggle with the idea of our gifts. What are the gifts that God has given to us to benefit the kingdom? What are the things that God has uniquely bestowed upon us as individuals that can serve His kingdom? And I think one of the dangers in our own thinking is that we might be convinced that our gifts aren't really gifts, and that there's something else. I remember when I was in seminary, I recall people often talking about visiting new churches, and it was always kind of a negative thing. And I remember people saying things like, "Oh, I just want to go into a church. I don't want anyone to say hello. I want everyone to ignore me and to walk away. I hate it when I go to church and people are overly friendly and they give me hugs and ugh." And I guess I kind of understand where they're coming from. Sometimes people don't do well meeting new people. I understand that, and it could be kind of awkward too. Going to a church and people maybe really with a lot of energy greeting you. That could be kind of I don't know. I guess it could be kind of hard for some people. But when I heard people talk about that, it made me really kind of question my own gifts, because one of my gifts, one of the things I feel like God has given to me is this ability to interact with people I've never met before. I'm actually really good at that. But when I heard people talk about that, talk about not wanting to be singled out, not wanting other people to approach them, I really started to pull back. I thought to myself, maybe this gift that I have isn't really a gift. Maybe it's something that just annoys people. It wasn't until years later where I realized, no, hold on. There might be some people who have a negative reaction to friendly people greeting them, but that's actually a gift that God has given to me, and I'm really good at it. And so, ever since then, I have been unashamedly, unabashedly friendly and outgoing and talkative with people that come to our church that I've never seen before, because that's one of my gifts. And and maybe they don't like it so much, and I don't know really what else to do with it other than I'm just going to operate in the giftings that God has given to me. And I think that's really my encouragement for you today. I think the enemy wants us to believe that our gifts, the things that we're good at, aren't really gifts at all, that they're really more of a hindrance and maybe an annoyance to certain people. But I would argue that if the enemy is trying to tell you that the enemy really doesn't want you operating in those giftings. And so part of the problem is we have to understand what our gifts are, and then we have to fight through what the enemy tells us about our gifts, to really recognize what we should be doing with our time and how we should be operating. And the good news is, when you recognize your gifts, whatever they may be, and I understand that my gifts aren't the same as everyone else's gifts, but when you recognize your gifts, you can walk in your gifting in freedom and in joy, because you love doing it. It's who you are naturally, and God has called you to do that. The Apostle Paul talks about the church being many members of one body, and if you're not operating in your giftings, then you're not. The body isn't benefiting, and the body needs to benefit from your giftings. The body needs you because you have specific gifts that God has given to you. So that's and then when you operate in your giftings, it might seem like a slow growth process. Things might not dramatically change around you, like our passage today, like the mustard seed. This is how the kingdom of God works. It starts out small, and it forces us to be patient. It forces us to wait for things to happen, wait for our prayers to be answered. But when they do, they're answered exponentially. When God has called us to work in our giftings work exponentially without us even realizing how powerful they are. And I think that's how a lot of our gifts are. We don't realize how powerful they are until maybe much, much later. And I would encourage you not to wait till it's too late to start pursuing your gifts and operating in your gifts unapologetically. With that, that's all I have. Blessings. Have a wonderful week. Bye.